Alright guys, quick video here to show a pair of Air Jordan 1 OG Band high. We've got a pair of real and a pair of fakes here, and I'm going to go over a few of the differences so you don't get duped. So let's start with the front. The profile of these looks extremely similar, so I don't think you're going to have much like trying to look at one without having a real one with you and telling the difference. However, if we come up to the tongue, the fakes have a large gap under the check and the air. Just some negative space that shouldn't exist. If you go over to the authentic ones, it's right on the edge, it's not chopped off, the air is nice and clean. It's just a small detail. If we turn the shoe to the side, the unauthentics, or the fakes as I'll now refer to them just for simplicity. For one, this stitch is a little sloppy, but two, it kind of rounds itself off here and then is very close to the red leather on the back. So close that it's more narrow than my finger. The authentic, you can just see how clean that stitch is. By comparison, the gap is a little further away, about a finger's width. Going on the same side, you can just see the placement of the Jordans, real, fake. So they do have the Jordan emblem angled in the right direction. They just have it a little too low and a little too angled up. Again, going to be very hard to tell without a real one with it, but you can just see how close that wing is to that black leather, and it's too close. The back of the shoe. So on the 2016s, they did make this more narrow, and the stitch should be black and through it. However, the fakes just didn't make it narrow or tall enough, so it's still a little boxy. Whereas the reals, it's actually more rectangular, a little taller. You can just look at the stitching next to each other. It appears the threads are a little bigger, a little spaced out better, a little more pronounced. But both appear to be double stitched, so hard to tell just if you're reading a piece of paper of what to look for. And the reels actually have kind of this ugly stitch there. I'm sure that varies from shoe to shoe, but the fakes are nice and clean, so it could throw you off. A big tell when you first unbox them is the reels will have extra laces, and they will sit in a little Ziploc bag on the left shoe. They will be nice and tight and wrapped up, and hopefully still on the shoe. That probably comes off every so often, but the bag should at least be very narrow. The laces should be very tight. This fake, that's how I knew something was up immediately, came with this bag, and it came with a white one just like it. And you know, you could chalk that up to maybe this guy wore the shoes prior to selling them as new, but it was an immediate red flag. And so I started going through the rest of the shoe and then shortly realized that yes, indeed, I had been sold some fakes, but I did not take an L. As PayPal came through and called him on his bullshit, and I'm gonna get a refund. An easy way, without going meticulously over each shoe, is trying to remove the heel. You cannot do so, or the sole rather. You cannot do so in the reels without ripping something. The fakes, it came right out. There it is. That should not happen. If you can remove your sole, you probably have fakes. If we look At the bottom, the star tread is very close together, but still very visible for what it is and pronounced. The fakes, the stars are bigger, probably just easier to do it that way. Still very visible, but they're noticeably bigger. Again, very hard to tell if you don't have these shoes right next to each other. Honestly, once you see them next to each other, you can kind of realize, oh, that's more clearly a fake. But this big gap here of black, and it's just not. If you look at the profile from the back, it's just not as clean. The shape doesn't come around the way the profile should be. There, it's very well done, and the gap is much smaller. I'll say it again, hard to tell on a good pair of fakes these little details, because these even have this done properly, they have the tag done properly. Before I removed the sole, that looked right, but the stitching underneath the sole looked like shit. So that was the icing on the cake. I think that's it for the noticeable difference for the shoes. The box was done extremely well. Looks identical to the real box. So I'm not even going to waste time bringing that one out. There are these inside of the shoe when you get them. The fake one actually has all the right imprints, and it's even textured the way it should be. However, there's this logo here, very easy to see. I don't know what it is, but it's nice and clear on the reels. This is the Authentics. You know what? I actually got that wrong. That's how good this stuff is. That's the real one. That's the really clear one. This one in the middle kind of turns to mush. This one, once again, nice and clear. I'm telling you, this was a very good pair of fakes, and I almost got caught slipping. I think that's it for the comparison. Hopefully you don't get duped. And if you do, file a claim with PayPal. I happen to get these shoes from Grailed, and they were really awesome about offering their assistance if I needed it. But I ended up not. The guy was really dumb and tried to word his way out of selling me fakes, and so PayPal saw how obvious it was, and I'm gonna get a full refund. But keep an eye out for these little things, and that's it.